From the moment Claire stepped into the softly lit Christmas restaurant, she felt the weight of the night pressing against her chest. The warmth in the air, the glittering lights draped across wooden beams, the quiet murmur of families laughing and couples leaning close, all of it only made the empty chair across from her shine more painfully. Snow clung to the edges of her coat, melting into tiny droplets she wiped from her sleeves as she checked her phone again. No new messages, no calls. Just the silent confirmation that the man she had agreed to meet, a man her coworker swore was perfect for her, had decided she wasn't worth showing up for. That realization hit her harder than she expected. Her heart, already fragile from the loneliness she hid so well, cracked a little more under the pressure of another disappointment. And as the first tear slid down her cheek, she realized she didn't even have the strength to pretend tonight didn't hurt. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Claire tried to steady her breathing as she sat alone with a menu she wasn't sure she would order from. Around her, Christmas seemed to glow brighter for everyone else. A couple across the room exchanged gifts wrapped in gold ribbon. A large family laughed loudly as they clinked glasses. A toddler nearby squealed at the sight of the giant wreath hanging above the fireplace. But Claire felt like an outsider in a world built for joy she couldn't quite reach. She had tried so hard to push herself into holiday cheer this year, into believing that maybe things were changing, that maybe she was finally stepping into a season where someone would choose her, someone would stay. She wasn't prepared for how much being stood up would sting, not just because she wanted companionship, but because it confirmed the fear she had battled for years, the fear that she simply wasn't enough for anyone to choose. She lowered her head, letting another quiet tear fall. She didn't even care if anyone saw. Sometimes sadness was too big to hide behind forced smiles or stiff posture. Sometimes it leaked out no matter how tightly you tried to hold yourself together. And that was when it happened. Something soft pressed against her shoulder. A tiny hand, small, warm, unexpected, startling enough that she looked up with wide eyes and found a little girl standing beside her, dressed in a sparkly red Christmas dress. Her hair curled into gentle ringlets that framed a face filled with innocent concern. The child couldn't have been more than 4. Her eyes big, soft, curious searched Claire's tear-stained face with a sincerity that made Claire's breath catch. The girl climbed into the empty chair beside her as if doing so was the most natural thing in the world. She didn't ask permission. She didn't hesitate. She simply sat there, studying Claire with a tenderness no adult had shown her in years. And as the restaurant buzzed around them, Claire felt a strange, soothing stillness fall over their small corner of the room. The little girl placed her hand gently on Claire's arm, her expression soft but confident, almost as though she somehow understood that Claire was hurting, even if she didn't know why. It was such a simple gesture, yet it unraveled something inside Claire, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a very long time, the warmth of being seen. Claire tried to gather herself, wiping her cheeks and attempting a smile she didn't quite feel yet. But the little girl didn't need explanations. She looked at Claire the way children often do, without judgment, without awkwardness, without trying to fix anything. She simply stayed. And in that small moment, Claire felt comforted, safe, not alone. It wasn't long before a man hurried toward the table, clearly searching for someone, or rather, searching for the little girl who had wandered off. He appeared in his mid-30s, with tired but kind eyes, a neatly pressed shirt under a winter sweater, and the look of a father who had been juggling too much for far too long. When he spotted the child, relief washed over his face. He approached quickly but gently, apologizing with sincere embarrassment as he explained that his daughter tended to wander toward people she thought needed cheering up. He said it quietly, sheepishly, almost afraid of intruding. Claire assured him it was okay, though her voice wavered slightly as she tried to sound composed. The man whose name, she learned, was Marcus noticed the untouched water glass across from Claire, the abandoned phone, the redness in her eyes. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't pry. But something in his expression shifted, softening with empathy, as if he recognized the story behind her sadness without needing to hear it out loud. He apologized again and reached for his daughter's hand, but the child refused to leave. She wrapped her little fingers around Claire's arm and shook her head stubbornly, making everyone at the nearby tables chuckle. Marcus tried once more, but every time he attempted to guide her away, she held tighter to Claire, her tiny face full of determination. Seeing this, Marcus let out a quiet breath, then asked if it would be okay for them to stay for a moment. Claire nodded, still stunned, and the three of them sat together. The little girl hummed softly, swinging her legs in rhythmic kicks beneath the chair, while Marcus shared small pieces of their story, not the heavy parts, just tender truths. He mentioned being a single father. He mentioned how Christmas was always a bit challenging, not because of the holiday itself, but because he wanted to make it magical for his daughter while carrying the weight of everything on his own. As he spoke, Claire felt a different kind of ache inside her chest, not the loneliness she had arrived with, but something gentler, a stirring of understanding. She knew what it meant, to long for connection, to want someone to stay, to try so hard to create joy for others even when you felt empty. She could see that Marcus was doing exactly that, and doing it beautifully. Time passed without her noticing. The restaurant's lights glowed, warmer as the evening deepened, and snow continued to drift lazily outside the windows. The little girl eventually rested her head against Claire's arm, comfortable and content, as if they had known each other far longer than just a few minutes. Claire felt something shift deep inside her, something fragile unfurling after being locked away for too long. It was hope, quiet, small, but real. Marcus, noticing how his daughter clung to Claire, gave a shy smile that felt unexpectedly genuine. He admitted he hadn't planned on staying long because busy Christmas places often overwhelmed him. But now, with his daughter happily settled and Claire no longer alone, he hesitated to leave. The three of them ended up talking for nearly an hour. They shared simple stories, childhood memories, holiday traditions, favorite foods, nothing too personal, yet everything about it felt meaningful. Claire watched the way Marcus looked at his daughter with profound love, the way he gently brushed crumbs off her dress, the way he laughed when she made silly faces. It made her heart warm in a way it hadn't in a long time. She couldn't shake the feeling that their meeting was not random, that the little girl had been drawn to her for a reason, and maybe, just maybe, Claire had been meant to find them tonight. Maybe her heartbreak was not the end of her story, but the beginning of something unexpected. As the evening came to a close, Marcus asked if she would be comfortable joining them for dinner rather than eating alone. Claire hesitated, not wanting to misread the situation, but the little girl clasped her hand tightly and looked up with hopeful eyes that made the decision feel easy. They stayed, they ate together, they laughed, and with every passing moment, Claire felt herself stepping out of the emptiness she had carried for so long. Near the end of the night, as plates were cleared away and holiday music played softly through the speakers, Claire felt a swell of emotion unlike anything she had expected when the evening began. She looked at the child leaning against her, at Marcus watching his daughter with quiet pride, and realized that the blind date she had been stood up for had been replaced by something infinitely more meaningful. If this story touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support truly helps keep these stories alive. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what's one moment of unexpected kindness you'll never forget? And as the night wound down, Claire stepped outside into the cold with Marcus and his daughter beside her, feeling, for the first time in years, that Christmas had finally given her a miracle she didn't even know she needed. A miracle in the shape of a determined little girl who sat down at her table and changed everything.